Please subscribe, like, and share. It really helps us out. And of course, if you have any questions, comment below and we will answer you as soon as we can. Welcome to this video in our series on A-level economics. Today we are looking at 3.4, Market Structures Part 3. More specifically, monopolies. If you haven't seen our previous videos, click on the card above.
So, what are the characteristics of monopoly? Pure monopolies exist where one firm is the sole seller of a product in a market. One of the closest examples to a pure monopoly is Google, which has 88% of the market. However, in the real world, a pure monopoly rarely exists, but a firm can be legally considered as having monopoly power if it has more than 25% of the market. The model assumes there is only one firm in the industry, they short-run profit maximize, and there are high barriers to entry. Tesco is a legal monopoly as it has 28% of the market. Some local monopolies exist, such as Stagecoach in Cambridge.
What is the profit maximizing equilibrium for a monopoly? The demand curve for a monopolist will be the demand curve for the product, since the monopoly firm is the industry itself. It will be downward sloping, since even though the firm is a monopolist, people can still choose whether to buy the good or not. Profit maximizing is when marginal costs equal marginal revenue, so this is the output they will produce at. They produce at quantity Q1, with a price of P1. At this point, they make supernormal profits of the shaded area. Since there is a monopoly, the firm may be able to earn supernormal profits or a loss in the long run, as there is no freedom of entry and exit to the market.
That brings us to third-degree price discrimination. This is when monopolists charge different prices to different people for the same good or service. There are different examples of where this can occur, different times of the day, for example, peak and off-peak train times, different prices in different places, such as between London and smaller towns, and between different incomes, for example, discounts for elderly people. In order for price discrimination to occur, the firm must be able to clearly separate the market into groups of buyers, the customers must have different elasticities of demand, and they must be able to control supply and prevent buyers from the expensive market from buying in the cheaper market. The diagram shows the separate markets for separate groups, those with inelastic demand and those with elastic demand. If the example was about traveling up to London, the workers would be in an inelastic market since they have little choice other than to pay the increased price as they have to go to London to work, whilst shoppers are the elastic market since they can decide to shop elsewhere. The diagram assumes the industry is a constant cost industry, in order to make it clearer. The firm produces where marginal cost equals marginal revenue in each market. Therefore, in the inelastic market, they produce at Q1 P1 and make a supernormal profit of the orange area. In the elastic market they produce at Q2 P2 and make a supernormal profit of the purple area, and in the combined market they produce at Q3 P3 and make a supernormal profit of the yellow area. This shows that by price discriminating and having two separate markets, the inelastic market and the elastic market, rather than a combined market, the firm can make higher profits. The orange area plus the purple area is larger than the yellow area. So, what are the costs and benefits? Firms benefit since they are able to increase their profits. This can go into research and development, improving dynamic efficiency. Those in the elastic market gain as they are able to pay a lower price than they otherwise would. They benefit from cross-subsidization. These consumers may have been unable to access the good if it were not for the price discrimination, and so this may increase equality. Consumers lose some of their consumer surplus to the producers. And some consumers have to pay a higher price. There are other types of price discrimination. First-degree price discrimination is where the firm can charge different prices for every unit of the good and so can eliminate all consumer surplus. And second-degree price discrimination is charging a different price for different quantities, such as discounts for bulk purchases.
Now, let's look at natural monopolies. Some companies are said to be natural monopolies. In these industries, the economies of scale are so large that even a single producer is not able to fully exploit all of them. These are decreasing cost industries. There are no pure natural monopolies in real life, but some examples include the National Grid, Royal Mail, and National Rail. The diagram shows a natural monopoly. Average cost and marginal cost continue to fall. The firm will profit maximize and produce where marginal cost equals marginal revenue at Q1P1, making a supernormal profit of the shaded area. It would be pointless to encourage competition since it would raise average costs for the industry. If any new firm enters the market, they will be easily priced out as their costs will be so much higher. This raises questions about competition policy and nationalization. Natural monopolies tend to be found in industries with very high fixed costs, such as railways. In order to run one train, you would need to invest billions in tracks, tunnels, bridges, and stations, whilst running extra trains represents a much smaller relative increase in costs, meaning average costs will decrease drastically. These firms are neither allocative nor productively efficient, as there is no minimum on the average cost curve, and at allocative efficiency, there would be a loss.
What are the costs and benefits? Firstly, firms. 1. Monopolists have the potential to make huge profits for their shareholders through profit maximization. 2. The existence of supernormal profits means firms will have finance for investments and will be able to build up reserves to overcome short-term difficulties. 3. Firms with monopoly power will be able to compete against large overseas organizations. 4. Large firms will be able to maximize economies of scale, reducing costs and increasing profit further. 5. However, firms may not always choose to profit maximize because of X inefficiencies, sales or revenue maximizing, profit satisficing, or contestability leading to limit pricing. In the long run, the lack of competition may mean that firms become complacent and so they may not make maximum profits. Secondly, employees. 1. Monopolists produce at lower outputs, so will employ fewer workers. 2. However, the inefficiency of the monopoly may mean employees receive higher wages, particularly directors and senior managers. Profit satisficing or sales or revenue maximizing may mean the output is higher and so more employees are employed. Thirdly, suppliers. 1. For suppliers, the impact of a monopolist will depend on the extent to which the monopolist is also a monopsonist. If the monopolist buys all or most of the supplier's goods, so is a monopsonist, which will reduce the supplier's profits as the monopolist will decrease prices. Fourthly, consumers. 1. With a natural monopoly, consumers tend to be better off than if there was competition. 2. When firms enjoy economies of scale, they will be more efficient and customers will enjoy a higher consumer surplus. 3. Monopolists may produce an increased range of goods or services due to cross-subsidization. 4. The use of price discrimination will allow for the survival of a product or service, and benefit some customers, those in the cheap market, whilst is negative for others. For example, it is said that economy class flights are funded by business class flights. 5. Consumers may pay higher prices and see a poorer quality service, due to a lack of competition. 6. There is less choice for consumers since there is only one firm producing the good.
So, finally for today, efficiency of a monopoly. A monopoly is productively inefficient since they don't produce at the point where marginal cost equals average cost. They are also not allocative efficient as the price that is set is greater than the price set by marginal cost. Since a monopolist is likely to make supernormal profits, they will be dynamically efficient. However, if there is no competition, they may have no incentive to invest. The diagram shows the effects of a monopolist compared to perfect competition. It is known as the Williamson trade-off. In order to make the diagram easier to follow, it is assumed that the industry is a constant cost industry where average cost equals marginal cost. If the market was perfectly competitive, it would produce where price equals average revenue, which would equal marginal cost at Q1P1. If the industry was to become a monopoly, it would produce marginal revenue equals marginal cost at Q2P2. The shift from perfect competition to monopoly has meant less production of the good and therefore fewer resources used, which causes deadweight loss of BCD, the orange area. There is a fall in consumer surplus from ADP1, the total shaded area, to ABP2, the yellow area. P2BCP1, the purple area, has been turned into producer surplus whilst BCD has been lost as a deadweight loss. Monopolists may suffer from X inefficiency because of the lack of competition. The point where marginal cost equals average cost may rise, and this will cause an even further fall in consumer surplus. Alternatively, a large monopolist may enjoy large economies of scale which allow average cost to fall. If these fall by a large enough amount, then consumer surplus will grow larger than would exist in perfect competition. It is argued that monopolies will have large retained profits and will be able to exploit new products or production techniques without worrying about competitors. This would make them more productively efficient, as costs are lower, more allocative efficient, as there are new products in the market, and dynamically efficient. Also, monopolists avoid undesirable duplication of services and prevent a misallocation of resources. Cross-subsidization may waste resources since profits from one sector finance losses in another, whilst instead, they should just stop production of this good. There are few permanent monopolies since supernormal profits give an incentive for other firms to break down the monopoly through a process of creative destruction. Some suggest a monopoly or the possibility of having a monopoly is good in the short run as it provides an incentive to invest and innovate, which is good for both the company and the economy. The bad aspects of monopoly are more likely to become true in the long run as firms can simply enjoy the benefits and become complacent. The effects of a monopoly will depend on the industry. In industries with high fixed costs, the gains from economies of scale will be higher. Thank you for watching our video. Please like, subscribe and share. And comment below so we can clarify things for you.